Hello students. Now let's talk about another kind of limit state, that is limit state of collapse, shear. See, if I summarize whatever we have done till now, we were talking about what we want to do. We want to design a structural member. So this is what we were doing. The structural members can be many kinds of members. There can be beams, there can be columns, there can be slabs, there can be foundations, etc. So these are the typically very common structural members that we generally have to design. Now we club some members as flexural members because they are primarily subjected to bending. Okay, columns are basically a kind of compression members. Foundations will be sometimes considered as a compression member, sometimes will be considered as a member in which some bending is also there, depending upon what kind of load is it transferred to the foundation. If we are transferring only axial load, we will consider the members to be just like a compression members, but it is designed more like a slab. Okay, so we are not talking about foundations, we are basically talking about flexural members for the time being. Now when we are designing the flexural members, we generally design the flexural members based upon the bending moment that is coming due to the loads. Okay, and we assume that they will fail under flexure. So that's why we basically talk about limit state of collapse, flexure. Okay, so if we are basically talking about a beam that is subjected to certain loading, I know that on this beam, due to the load, there are two kinds of internal forces that are coming into play. One force is a shear force, another force is bending moment. Now we have seen that we are designing the system considering that there is only bending moment, but along with bending moment, what is happening near the supports, we are having shear. So we might design the system for bending moment, but it can happen that the system fails due to shear. So it means for the design of flexural member, we cannot simply rely on bending moment, we will have to consider shear also. So that's why we are considering limit state of collapse, shear. Now what type of failure occurs due to shear? What kind of reinforcement should be provided so that the shear failure does not occur? Okay. Now if I am talking about a shear failure will generally occur at the supports, near the supports. Okay. Now what happens if we are basically drawing the beam? This is the length of the beam, this is depth of the beam, and this is width of the beam. Now when the load is applied on this beam, the beam is going to deflect like this, isn't it? So it means at the center, the beam will primarily have this kind of vertical cracks. These cracks are due to these bending moments. So that's why these cracks are called flexural cracks. However, the cracks towards the support, they are basically a diagonal kind of cracks. Okay, so these diagonal cracks are basically due to shear. Okay, now in order to resist these flexural cracks, what do? We provide the reinforcement perpendicular to the crack. So that's why this reinforcement is in terms of the longitudinal bars. But at this particular point, what happens? We require a reinforcement that is perpendicular to this crack. Okay, so we are basically trying to resist this kind of crack in the system. So we want a reinforcement that is perpendicular to the crack. We generally don't provide a reinforcement exactly perpendicular to the crack, but we provide a reinforcement like this, so that for the crack there is number of reinforcements are available, they will resist that crack. If we do not provide these shear reinforcements, what will happen? Concrete will fail. Because the failure of concrete is brittle, so that's why you will have a brittle failure due to shear. Okay, so it means in order to avoid a shear failure, we should have a reinforcement that is in terms of the vertical stirrups. We call this reinforcement to be vertical stirrups. Okay, so we should provide the reinforcement in terms of vertical stirrups to avoid the shear crack. Okay, now if I basically talk about what can be the type of failure at different stages in a beam. Now let us say I am basically talking about if there is some load and there is some deflection. Okay, if I am having a beam, a cross section of the beam, but I am not providing any flexural reinforcement, that is, I am simply having a concrete section, I am not providing these flexural, these longitudinal reinforcements. So what will happen if this is not provided? The beam will start taking load, then suddenly just about a small deflection is there. Because concrete is brittle, it will fail at this point. Is it okay? Clear? So it means this concrete beam will fail when it will just take small amount of load. Now if you are providing the shear reinforcement, then the load carrying capacity will increase. So the system is now not failing at point number 1. It will rather go to point number 2, because we have provided the flexural reinforcement. But if we have not provided this shear reinforcement, that at certain point number 2, again the beam will suddenly fail. Now why is the beam failing? Because of diagonal shear cracks. Okay, so it means the beam will fail due to the diagonal shear cracks now. So over here the beam is failing due to flexural cracks, and at point 2 again there is a brittle failure, but this is now due to diagonal shear cracks. Now if let us say we have provided the shear reinforcement, then the system will take more load. Along with this, the system will have a ductile failure. So the load carrying capacity will increase, and now you will have a ductile failure. So point line number 3 indicates you have provided shear reinforcement and ductile failure is there. Okay, but if let us say you have provided excessive shear reinforcement, so you have provided these bars very close to each other. So if you have gone for excessive shear reinforcement, the beam's load carrying capacity will increase, but again the beam will have a brittle failure, it will have a sudden failure. So why is that there is a sudden failure? Because you have provided lot of shear reinforcement. The shear reinforcement will not yield, so it will not lead to any development of cracks, but concrete will fail. So it means over here you will have, this is due to excessive shear reinforcement. So due to this, the reinforcement will not yield, and failure of concrete occurs. So whenever there is failure of concrete, it is always a brittle failure. So brittle failure of the system occurs. So I hope you understand that what kind of failures will be occurring when you are not providing longitudinal reinforcement, when you are not providing shear reinforcement, when you have provided shear reinforcement and that too adequate, and when you have provided excessive shear reinforcement. Okay, so whenever we are designing shear reinforcement, we have to follow certain codal provisions. Now codal provisions will help us that we have some minimum shear reinforcement and there should be some maximum also, that beyond which you will have this kind of failure. Okay, so let's simply talk about, before I actually go into the design, I will simply talk about what are the different main clauses related to shear, codal provisions. So what are the basic steps? If let us say I want to find out how much is the shear reinforcement required, what are the steps? Step 1 will be, you will have to find out the shear force that the beam is to resist. Okay, now once you find out shear force, you find out shear stress. Code says that shear stress that is occurring due to load, this will be written by tau V, and this we will be taking as V upon B into D. Okay, so it means if the beam is, if this much is the load, due to the load the amount of shear force that is coming on the beam is V, then it will lead to a shear stress of V upon BT. Okay, this is called nominal shear stress. Nominal shear stress, and it is given in clause 40.1, page 72 of IS 456. Let's see the clause. You can see we had started with limit state of flexure. It was clause 38. So whole of the clause 38 was limit state of collapse due to flexure. Clause 39 is due to compression. We will be talking about it when we are designing a column. Okay, we are basically want to design now limit state of collapse shear. So over here 40.1 talks about the nominal shear stress. Is it okay? So once you have the nominal shear stress, the clause says that we will have to check the next thing, that tau V, the value of tau V should be always less than tau C max, that is maximum shear stress. Maximum shear stress. Okay, now maximum value of shear stress is given in clause 40.2.3. Under no circumstances, even with shear reinforcement, shall the nominal shear stress of beams exceed tau C max. Okay, so it says that under no circumstances this value tau V should exceed tau C max. Okay, clear? Why it is there? It is there to avoid compression failure that used to occur due to point number 4. Okay, so avoid compression failure. Clear? Now from where do we get the value of tau C max? It is said that it is given in table 20. Table 20, page 73. So maximum shear stress. Maximum shear stress for different grades of concrete is given you can see maximum shear stress for M15 grade of concrete, it should be 2.5 megapascal. For M20, 2.8. So it means your value of tau V should not increase tau C max. If it increases, then we will have to change the section. Okay. So our first step is we will find out force. From that we will find out shear stress. We will compare that it should not exceed tau C max, that is given in table 20, page 73. Okay, clear? Then I know the system is to resist this value of tau V. Now this tau V will be resisted by concrete and shear reinforcement, because concrete will also have some shear strength carrying capacity. So this tau V is resisted by concrete and shear reinforcement. So first of all we will find out how much is the resistance that is provided by concrete or the longitudinal reinforcement by the basic section. So that shear resistance is called tau C. So we will find out the shear capacity of the original section. Okay. So we are finding out shear strength of the section. So third step is find shear strength of the section, that is without the shear reinforcement. Now shear strength of the section itself, it depends upon number of factors. Shear strength of the section will now depend upon the grade of concrete. It will depend upon percentage of steel that has been provided. Okay. It will depend upon dimensions B and D of the section. So depending upon all these things, code has given a table, that is table 19. From that table we can find out the value of tau C. So it means we will find out tau C by using table 19. Okay. This table 19 is given on page 73 like this. So what is that? Design shear strength of concrete, tau C. So we will find out tau C. Okay, clear? Now, fourth step is, if tau V is greater than tau C, that is the stress is greater than the capacity, then we will have to provide shear reinforcement. Now, when we are to provide shear reinforcement, what are the ways in which shear reinforcement is provided? Now again, in this particular code, clause 40.4 says that if tau V exceeds tau C, shear reinforcement shall be provided in any of the following forms. We can go in for vertical stirrups, we can go in for bent up bars with stirrups, and we can go in for inclined stirrups. We usually do not take inclined stirrups. Most of the time we take vertical stirrups, and sometimes we even bent up some bars. Okay. So we are providing shear reinforcement. Number of ways are vertical stirrups. Second is bent up bars. And third one is inclined stirrups. It's very simple. Vertical stirrups. If you are going in for vertical stirrups, you will say, okay, I am going in for 8 mm dia vertical stirrups. Then you will have to find out the spacing of stirrups. Then the code has the formula given in that spacing of the stirrup will be given by 0.87 Fy ASV D upon V US. Where what is V US? VUS is the difference for which the shear reinforcement is required. See, if tau V is greater than tau C, it means some value of shear force is to be resisted by the reinforcement. Then VUS is basically shear force that was coming on the section minus tau C into BD. Capacity of the section multiplied by its cross section will give you the force taken by concrete. Force that was coming minus force taken by concrete will give you the amount of force for which shear reinforcement is required. 0.87 Fy. ASV is the area of shear reinforcement, one shear reinforcement. D is the effective depth of the section. So you will be able to find out the shear reinforcement. Okay? Spacing of shear reinforcement. If let us say you are providing bent up bars also along with shear reinforcement. So it means you had some shear force that is coming. This shear force is some part of the shear force is taken by tau CBD. Some part will be now taken up by bent up bars. And the remaining part will then be taken by vertical stirrups. I suppose you understand that if we are not having bent up bars, then this shear force will be taken up by its section and then rest will be taken by vertical stirrups. If we are having bent up bars, then along with this some portion will be taken up by bent up bars. Then if bent up bars are there, how much force is taken up by bent up bars? It is given by, again it is written in the formula in the clause itself. It is given by 0.87 Fy ASV into sine alpha. Okay, so then the capacity taken by this particular bars, bent up bars, it is given by 0.87 Fy ASV into sine alpha. Is it okay? Clear? So it means then for the rest of the thing we will provide the shear vertical stirrups. So this is the way we will provide the vertical stirrups or the shear reinforcement. Now I talked about if tau V is greater than that, then we will require shear reinforcement. Okay. Then the second thing is if tau V is less than tau C, then it means we do not require any shear reinforcement. So it means we do not require, no shear reinforcement is required. But however, code says that you will go in for some minimum shear reinforcement. Some minimum shear reinforcement. This minimum shear reinforcement is written here. Minimum shear reinforcement. It says if tau V is less than tau C, minimum shear reinforcement shall be provided in accordance with clause 26.5.1.6. So I'll go to clause 26.5.1.6. It talks about minimum shear reinforcement. What does it say? Minimum shear reinforcement in the forms of stirrups shall be such that this value. Okay. So what does that? It says minimum shear reinforcement shall be ASV upon B into SV should be greater than or equal to 0.4 upon 0.87 Fy. That is, SV is less than or equal to 0.87 Fy ASV upon 0.4 into B. So if you are having tau V less than tau C, then also you will provide minimum spacing as this value. Then if tau V is even less than tau C upon 2, if shear force is very low, then code says there is no need for shear reinforcement. Is it okay? Clear? So let me just revise the things. What are the steps for shear reinforcement? First step is, what will be given to you? Shear force of the beam, or you will calculate, if the loads are given, you will calculate shear force on the beam. You will be calculating section. You will be having the section B into D. First step is you calculate tau V. So tau V is VU upon BD. Then you compare this tau V with tau C maximum that is given in table 20. It has to be less than tau C maximum. If tau V is less than tau C maximum, then okay, you can proceed to the next step. If tau V is greater than tau C maximum, then you will have to change your basic cross section that was provided. Is it okay? Then next is you find tau C depending upon the percentage of steel. That is by using table 19. If tau V is less than 0.5 tau C, then there is no need for shear reinforcement. If tau V is equal to or you can say if tau V is less than tau C, but it is still greater than 0.5 tau V, then it means you will provide minimum shear reinforcement as given in clause 26.5.1.6. If tau V is greater than tau C, then you will design the shear reinforcement. If you are providing vertical stirrups, then the spacing of that shear reinforcement will be given by this value. Is it okay? Clear? Then on this spacing there are certain checks. What are those checks? Those checks are maximum spacing. So it means this spacing SV should be less than 0.75 D. SV should be less than 300 millimeters, lesser of the two. Along with that, SV should be less than minimum shear reinforcement that was given by 0.87 Fy ASV upon 0.4 B. So we will check the spacing. It has to be less than these three values. If not, we will provide the minimum of these three values as the shear reinforcement. Okay, so now I will be doing one or two questions to make it more clear. Okay, so the questions I will be discussing it in the next video. Thank you.